Siesta Sound Live. Siesta Sound Live is broadcast from Captain Kurt's Village. It's Siesta Key's home to great food, great drinks, great music, and great times. Look for the giant American flag.
Welcome to Siesta Sound Live. I'm your host, Natalie Gutwein. Got a great show for you today. Today I have Scott Gerber, the Tube Dude. Incredible work. And I also have Raul Jimenez and Jay Santi. They are with the Siesta Key music scene, and they're going to play some music for us. So stay tuned.
The next segment is brought to you by the Judy Berger team, part of Sotheby's International Realty. Whether a buyer or a seller, you'll be delighted with their service. And by Altez Vacations. It's the perfect place to go to find that perfect place to rent.
Welcome. So I am here with Scott Gerber today, the Tube Dude. If you've never heard of him, you got to check it out. This is what he makes. There's a lot more to it, but I want to tell the story. I love the story of how you got started because it's not anything. I don't think it's a way anybody would think someone that this artistic started out as.
It's nothing that I ever thought would ever happen the way it did happen, and it's been 15 years, and I never dreamed that we'd be where we're at when we started this whole thing. But the way Tube Dude started, it was very organic, I guess. So I was a yacht builder most of my life, and I went to the Naval Academy, and I ran ships for a very long time, and then I got into yacht building. I lived in Monaco for 7 years, and then I started a boat company here in Sarasota, and we had been doing very well, and then the recession came, and kind of started affecting the yachting business, the boating business in 2008, and in 2010, it was really hard to hang on, and so we ended up closing our business down. And I lived on the last house before you come on to Siesta Key.
Okay.
And so
North Bridge or South Bridge?
North Bridge.
Okay.
It would be on the south side. You know the house. It's actually for sale right now. And it had 800 linear feet of seawall, and I had 3 docks. And I knew that if I didn't have a business to go to in the morning, my wife was going to give me one heck of a honey-do list. And so when I would do the honey-do list, it was mainly outdoor stuff. I'd love to take my fishing pole and cast it out, with a little shrimp on it and a bobber, and I'd do my work and I'd kind of keep it on it. But I could never figure out anything that would hold the fishing pole in the correct position. And so I made a stick figure out of some of the aluminum that we used for the boats. And I had no idea how to weld. I had no idea how to bend pipe. I didn't know any of that. But taught myself, had a bunch of people help me, show me the way and whatnot. And so I built the very first Dude, and he had the 2 most important things in my life at the time: a fishing pole and a beer holder. and so
Somehow that's where a lot of Siesta Key stories start, with a fishing pole and a beer.
Yeah, hold my beer.
Hold my beer.
Watch this, hold my beer. So it was really funny. So I put him on my dock, and I was married at the time, and we always had a great 4th of July party. And I put him on the dock on like the 2nd of July. And on the 4th of July, we had about 300 people at the house. And everybody kept saying, "Hey, Scott, who's the dude fishing on the end of your dock?" And my wife at the time, she said, "You should call that a dude, because everybody's calling him a dude."
Yeah.
And so the name Tube Dude.
Oh, that's where that came from.
That's where it came from, that party that night. And some alcohol involved, I'm sure. But yeah, and then it was really funny because like the very next day, I'm out doing part of my honeydew list, and some guy pulls up in his boat next to my dock. He goes, "Hey, this thing's pretty cool. Where'd you get it? I'd like to have one." And I said, "Well, I built it." He goes, "Did you build me one?" And I said, "Sure, I don't have anything else to do. Get me away from this honeydew list." And so, and then at the party, a friend of mine, she lived across the street on Siesta Drive, and she said, Scott, would you make me a mailbox that looks like that guy?
So that's where the mailbox concept came from.
And that's what, so I think there's probably, I'd heard at one time there were 2,000 cars every day that pass, that go over that bridge. It's probably more than that.
Yeah, it's
probably a lot more than that
more
now,
than
because
that
I was
now,
behind
yeah.
all of them yesterday going off the bridge. And so it got a lot of,
you put the mailbox right on Siesta Drive.
I don't see, like the third house from the bridge. And
It's still there, right?
no, they moved, and I think they took it. So
Oh, there's one out there. I don't know which one it is.
there's a bunch of them around. We've done 10,000, over 10,000 pieces. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So, and shipped them all over the world. So so what happened was one day my neighbor, who I made the mailbox for, I made it for her birthday. She comes home and she goes, Scott, what are you going to do now that you can't build boats? Because at that particular time, the end of the recession, or whatever you want to call it, just wasn't in sight yet. And I'd only done a couple of things in my life. I was a ship's captain, a bodyguard, and a boat builder. And I had two young boys at the time. Mm-hmm. They were like 3 and 4, or 4 and 5, and I wasn't going to leave them, so I couldn't be a boat captain, and I wouldn't. And being a bodyguard, you travel a lot.
Yeah.
So I just decided, at that time, I'll do whatever I can do. And I told her, I said, I don't really know what I'm going to do. She goes, why don't you build these things, these tube people?
Whatever this is.
Yeah. And I go, well, who would ever want one of these? And she hands me 7 pieces of paper. And in a 5-day period, 7 people had stopped in front of her mailbox and put a note in there, said, where did you get this? I want one.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that part of the story.
So I called all 7 people, and I sold 5 mailboxes at almost the exact same price that we get now.
Wow.
And we started the business. It was really funny. Started the business in the garage of my house. And so this is probably the coolest part of the whole thing.
Uh-huh.
So I was losing my boat company was like a death in the family,
Oh, yeah.
And I was in such a bad place. And
Right. Well, I mean, a lot of people, it was a bad time.
yeah, everybody was hurt. And see, that's the whole premise of this story I'm going to tell you. So what I did was I built 4 tube dudes that held signs over their heads. And they were in 4 different color neon colors, so they were really, really bright. And I put signs that said, hang in there, it's going to get better, kiss your kid, love your wife, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I would find a place that, like a really busy intersection. And so like at 4 o'clock, I'd pull my truck up, I'd put these 4 dudes in the intersection, like in the medium.
Yeah.
And then I'd go sit off to the side and listen to an inspirational book or something, Tony Robbins or something.
Right.
And that was my therapy. It was trying to help other people. Because every single person that I spoke to was worse off than me. I saw this one guy one day. I remember. I said, "Hey, he goes, hey Scott, how you doing?" I said, "Oh, I lost my boat company. Woe was me." He goes, "Well, how are your kids?" I said, "Oh, my kids are great. They're healthy, wonderful. House, you okay with the house and everything?" "Oh, yeah, my wife's got a great job. We're not going to lose the house." And a lot of people were in their neighborhood,
Yeah.
And so she said, I go, "Well, how are you doing?" "I lost my job. We're probably going to lose the house. And I got one kid sick now, and we don't have any insurance." I'm just like, I felt horrible, And that was I had a friend who was heir to the Scripps Howard fortune. People would ask him, "What do you do for a living?" He goes, I walk to the mailbox on the first Tuesday of every month. That's my job, And he was freaking out because instead of him getting $80,000 a month, it was down to 50, and it's like, how am I going to live on $50,000?
Poor thing, right?
I know.
Devastating.
But he was freaking, And so I just thought this was a cool way to help people. And so it was really funny. So one day, it was a Sunday. Oh, no, it was a Saturday. I had gone to the Ringling Bridge, and at the base of the Ringling Bridge, right in front of where the yacht club is, I put my 4 dudes in a row, They look like protesters, but they're all saying happy things,
Right.
And they had been sitting out there for about 3 hours, and so the sun's about to go down, and so I drive my truck over there real quick, and I didn't put my name on anything. I didn't want anybody to know I was associated with. That was kind of somewhat feminine, and I've always thought of myself as a fairly macho kind of guy
Right.
and whatnot. And so I'm hurrying as fast as I can to try to get these things in the back of the truck. And I hear this guy, I caught you. And I turn around like, what do you mean you caught me? I didn't do anything. Where he goes, who are you? And what are you doing this for? And so I explained my situation. I said, everybody I talk to has it worse than me. If I can help one person feel better or get through this time, because I remember at the time suicide rates were like going crazy.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, if I just help one, it makes me feel better,
Right.
And so that's why I'm doing it. And he says, hey, do you mind that's a great story. Do you mind if I take a picture of you for my wife? I would tell her the story when I get home. I said, sure, no problem. So the next morning, Sunday morning, my wife, at the time, she calls me. She says, hey, she calls upstairs. She goes, Scott, have you seen the paper this morning? I said, no. And she goes, you got to check this out. Front page of the Sarasota Sunday paper is a picture of me with my 4 tube dudes in the background and the whole story about it.
Oh, wow.
And my phone rang off the hook. People wanting to buy tube dudes. And it was really funny because at the time, there were people in business that were down to their last $1,000. And they thought a tube dude was going to save their business. And I think some did. Some definitely didn't.
Well, it brings it to life. It's when you put that in your front yard, in front of your business, it gets attention. Just like, the mailbox behind us.
Yeah. Well, on a mailbox is your business card for your house. It explains a little bit about your personality.
Right.
It's a great way, especially if you're new to the area. You put one of these out, if you're outside getting something out of your car and somebody's walking their dog by and they go, hey, I love your mailbox. I don't know if you ever took a Dale Carnegie class, but they actually have a thing called the mailbox syndrome or effect or something like that. And it's where you think of something on somebody. It's not necessarily personal, but, oh, I love those headphones on you the way they look. It's not personal, but it's a compliment. And people, oh, thank you. I love, they work really well and whatnot, and they kind of make me look like an Eskimo a little bit, but I'm good with that. And so the mailbox is that thing. It introduces you to the neighborhood, especially a pink flamingo.
Right.
That says, hey, I'm the neighbor you want to know.
Right. Yeah. So what's your favorite mailbox that you've ever made?
I don't have one. I honestly don't have one. I've been asked that question thousands of times, and I just don't have one. It was really funny because I did one that was really great, that I really liked, and I had it in front of my house for almost 24 hours, and my neighbor bought it from me.
Scott lives across the street from me, and my ex-husband came over and saw that mailbox.
It was a swordfish.
It's really cool.
And the bill was going through the mailbox, and it was this really cool color. It flip-flopped, from bronze to blue, and it was just so cool. And I worked so hard
it looks great in front of his house now, just FYI.
Yeah, and your ex-husband did not give me an opportunity to refuse his request. And he just said, I want it. And so he got it the very next day. So, yeah, I don't have a favorite. We've done some really cool ones, and there's some that are not necessarily really exceptionally cool, but they have a great story behind them.
Right.
Like we did this one, it was an octopus, and it's holding an eagle ray. And this lady that I did it for, I noticed she had a tattoo on her arm of a butterfly. And I said, that's a really pretty tattoo. And she said, it was kind of that mailbox effect, started a nice conversation. And so she said, oh, well, and then she told me the story about it. She said that her mother had recently died, and as the coffin was being laid into the ground, a butterfly landed on the coffin. And it just hung out there for the longest time. And so she had this association with the butterfly. So I took a picture of it without her knowing. I took a picture of her butterfly. And when I delivered her mailbox, Eagle Ray, an Eagle Ray has spots all over it. Well, if you look really closely at the spots, they're butterflies.
Aww.
They're the exact butterfly that was on her arm.
You are a lot more artistic than you
look.
ever would have thought, right? I'm sure growing up, you did not get artistic on your comments at school or at the Naval Academy.
Yeah. Well, actually, and it wasn't the Naval Academy; it was the Merchant Marine Academy. Yeah, in Texas. Yeah. So, but yeah, you never know. You know, it's really funny. People, I look back at my life, and I'm always reminded of Forrest Gump's my favorite movie, and I watch it every year at Christmas time. And this year I was watching it, and the very first scene, Forrest says to the nurse that's sitting down on the bench with him, says, "Those are some real comfortable looking shoes," and she says, "They are very comfortable." And he thinks for a second, and he goes, "I've worn a lot of different types of shoes," and I think back. I've worn a lot of different types of shoes, you know, between, you know, being a boat builder, boat captain, bodyguard, and now an artist.
The different chapters of our lives.
And they're so different. You know,
Right.
They're so different, you know.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
Because you.
Check your closet. See what shoes you got.
Oh, I know. I'm thinking about that right now. All the different, the different shoes that I have worn, and somehow how it all leads us to where we are. And well, for all of us, it led us here to Siesta Key.
Yeah.
And you know, this beautiful place. And how can we complain about living in paradise? And I have some great pictures from because I'll wake up every now and then, and your truck will be in the parking lot, and every now and then you've got several of these in the back of your truck.
Yeah. If I'm doing an art show or a delivery, and if I have to leave really super early in the morning, I'll bring them home.
Yeah.
You know.
So I've taken pictures of a
Yeah.
few of them because there'll be, you know, a flamingo and, you know, all these different things in the back of your truck, and it's really, really cool looking.
I used to have, well, I still do, but now I have a great big giant trailer, a 40-foot long trailer that's enclosed. But I used to have an open trailer, and I would have like 30 different dudes on it. And I do the Hamptons every summer. I do art shows up in the Hamptons, but so like I'm driving, you know, 1,200 miles up I-95, and I can guarantee you, every single person that passes me on the left-hand side, the passenger has a picture.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
You know, that they're looking
Hundreds,
at of something that
probably
was on my
thousands
trailer.
of them. Yeah.
It's crazy. Yeah. It's a lot of fun. And it's really funny. I've had people follow me I had this one guy follow me for almost 80 miles. So I pulled into, and he said, "I want that particular piece. Sell it to me now." And it was at a gas station. I'm like, "Yeah, sure." What, you know?
Oh, I'm sure you've got a lot of stories about that from people seeing it, and because it is neat when you see it on several of them in the back. But let's take a short break, and I want to come back and talk about what's next for the Tube Dude.
Great. Thanks.
The following segment is brought to you by Beach Bazaar, located in the heart of Siesta Village. Everything for the beach, and we do mean everything. And by FAM Development, the area's best in custom-built homes. Start living your dream on and around Siesta Key.
So I'm back with Scott. Let's talk about the next chapter of the Tube Dude. What are you doing from here out?
Well, we got into doing monumental art a couple years ago. And so, like, we have the most photographed art in New York City, in Manhattan, for the last 4.5 years. It's according to Instagram.
Wow. What is it?
It's a giant heart. We did peace, love, and happiness. They're 10 foot tall. And so I was doing an art show in West Hampton Beach 5 years ago. This gentleman walked up to me, and I had one of my 4 foot tall smiley faces. And he said, "You know, everybody that goes by that thing wants to have their picture taken with it." And I go, "I know, it kind of gets old after a while." And he goes, "I'm looking for something like that, an Instagram moment. And I have property in Manhattan." And so I'm thinking, "Oh, Manhattan is probably like 10 feet by 10 feet." I go, "How big's the piece?" He says, "It's 1,200 feet long." And I didn't know much about Manhattan, but he said, "It's the South Street Seaport." And one of the most popular places in New York City.
Yeah.
And so I said, "Well, the problem with something that long, if you build something really big, you know, I used to build yachts that were 300 feet long. The problem is you get too big, the person's too small in the picture."
Oh, right.
So I said, "I think what would be really great would be 3 separate pieces." And so that's why we did the peace, love, and happiness, and we did them. And we found out that there was an ordinance in New York City that you couldn't go over 10 foot tall, or else you had to have this huge, you know, review, and it took several years. So we made them 9 feet 11 inches tall. And it was
There's
really
always a workaround.
It was really funny because when I was supposed to actually install them, when they had the riots, when they were burning down, like the Gucci store and all that in Lower Manhattan, and I was halfway there, and the guy called me up in the middle of the night. He said, "Scott, where are you?" I go, "I'm just passing through South Carolina." He goes, "Turn around." He goes, "The last thing these rioters want to see is a 10-foot tall smiley face." So I'm like, okay. And so, we did those. In fact, if you walk out of Bobby Flav's new restaurant, you walk right into the smiley face.
Oh.
And then I had a customer I did a large piece for just recently down in Naples, and she said, "Scott, you've officially arrived." I said, "Why do you say that?" She goes, "If you go on, is it Estes, where you can buy stuff on?"
Oh, the street in Naples?
No, it's a website. It's
I don't know.
ESES or something like that. Anyway, you can buy anything in the world on there. So there's a picture of my artwork on in Manhattan that you can buy for $5.99.
Oh, wow.
So somebody's making money off of it. But and she goes, "You're famous now. Now somebody's ripping you off." So anyway, and then we just recently did a piece for the city of Miami. In Miami, their area code is 305, and so because Miami's so big, and I hate to say this, but not a lot of real people there, and so people go, "Hey, where you from?" Instead of saying, "Well, I live like in the bad part of Miami," they just say, "We live at 305,"
Oh,
and so everything is 305. So we did a giant 305, but the O is a heart, and so we call it Miami Love. And it just so happened that particular website was available, so the art piece came with its own website, the whole bit. And so I had my partner in crime, Brendan Thrift, who you'd probably know him from the Spread Love that you see all over.
Right, so billboards, he paints the billboards that say Spread Love all over everywhere.
Yeah, and that's a whole nother story. He's an interesting guy. You would love to interview him. He's super, super cool, really talented, and just a true free spirit. And during COVID, he's a singer in a band.
I always forget that part.
And
I see him around a lot. I forget he's a singer.
Yeah,
I'm so used to thinking of him with the Spread Love.
Yeah, he couldn't perform anywhere, and so he was going nuts, and he was finding how people were getting on their nerves, and so he just got in his car one day and a bunch of cans of spray paint, and he drove down like Highway 19. If he saw a wall that was vacant, he wrote "Spread Love" on there, and it was a great message. And people in town, really accepted him, and so he literally became famous overnight. And it was really funny because I was on my way. I think I was on my way to New York, and if you take that one road that goes down the middle of the state through Stark, they have the old train yard there, and one of the Ringling Circus. Carts were there, train cars, and actually "Spread Love" was written on the back of it. With all the other graffiti.
Yeah, it's all over everywhere, yeah.
But so he does all my graffiti work for us, and so we sold that piece to Miami about a month ago today, and it's going to go in front of, they're building an $86 million
is it a county building, city building, something like that?
It's their brand new city hall.
Oh, okay.
And so this piece is going to go right in front of the city hall.
Oh, wow, you have arrived.
Yeah, well.
My famous neighbor.
Yeah, right. You've got a couple of famous neighbors.
Right.
You're surrounded.
We've got a pretty, and there's only 11 houses in our neighborhood.
Yeah.
Right. We've got a good hood going on over there.
Yeah. We're doing we do a lot of people don't know this, but we do pool rails and swimming pool rails. And they're really funky. Like we do one that's a flamingo, and it completely converts your way your pool looks. And we're building one for Steve.
Oh, right.
And it's really cool because it's Bob Marley. it's a graphic cutout of Bob Marley, and his Rasta hair is part of the handrail.
Oh, wow.
And it's so cool. We're painting it right now. He actually came down to the shop because I had it built and I really loved it.
Yeah.
But like a lot of our artwork, it's part of the person's personality. Mm-hmm. And I knew that when I was talking to him that the color was going to be really, really important to him.
Yeah.
And so I had him come down and I said, let's talk about how you want us to paint this. And so we come up with a decision and so we're painting.
So it's a collaboration between the person from you,
the artist and the customer. Yeah. Almost every piece that we do, we invite the customer to have their input, because these things, they're made out of aluminum, so they're going to last forever. Mm-hmm. And so why not have something that you're happy with forever?
Right. So so people are going to be imagining this in their head. Where do they go to find you?
We have tube-dude.com.
Okay.
That's the website. And then we have artisticpoolrails.com. And if anybody needs any really cool powder coating done, we started doing our own powder coating, and we've become so good at it that we want to share our trade with other people. So if people have something that needs to be redone, or some, a favorite piece they have and it's just kind of faded out or something like that, they can call us up and we can do the powder coating for them. And we're really quick, so we don't do a high volume.
Yeah.
And we try to only do artwork. It's kind of our specialty because our process is so precise and so good, and the color options that we have over 500,000 colors to pick from.
Wow.
So yeah.
Well, it's very artistic. And I love when I see them. When I first got to Sarasota, it was one of the first things I noticed when we moved here full time, and I thought, what is all of that? And then
where are you originally from?
I am originally from Greencastle, Indiana, and then I lived in Atlanta, and then we moved here.
Okay. So I, at one time, had more pieces in Indiana, Ohio, and Michigan individually than I did in Florida.
Oh, wow. Well, everybody's from, not everybody, but a lot of people come and visit.
And what they would do is, and I heard this more times than not, we came to Siesta Key. We had such a fabulous time. We wanted to take a little piece of Siesta Key back with us. And the mailboxes were one of the things that was really unique.
Oh, they're very, very unique.
And so you can't believe how many pink flamingos there are on Lake Michigan.
Well, I think we need to have one in our neighborhood. Maybe we can stick that at my house.
There you go.
But then everybody's going to know exactly what house is mine.
No one ever has a problem finding your house.
No, it's right there. It's right there on the corner. You can't miss it.
People use our stuff for landmarks all the time. I had this one guy, he was a farmer, and he saw my stuff, and he goes, that's really unique. He goes, man, I sure wish I'd have met you a year ago. I go, what's that? He goes, well, I live out in the country. And he goes, I'm a farmer, and I have like 100,000 acres of corn. Mm-hmm. And he said, the farmhouse is in the middle of the field, so that when you go to work, it's an even direct, distance to wherever you're going to work. And he said, so whenever we have people come to visit us, they can't see the house from the road. And so,
especially in the summer when the crops are up. Yeah.
So we tell people, so what you do is you go down, highway so-and-so, and then you get to state road so-and-so, and then you get off on this dirt road, and you're going to go down 11 other dirt roads, and you're going to see there's going to be, and then that's where you turn, and you go down 1.5 miles, and then the house is on the left.
That's exactly like where I grew up.
So he said, what I thought I would do is I'd make it easier for people to find me. So I bought this old John Deere tractor, and I had it completely restored. It cost $40,000 to have it completely restored. And I put it on the corner. So now I tell people, you go down highway so-and-so, you go on state road so-and-so, you go down 11 dirt roads. Mm-hmm. There's going to be a tractor, a John Deere tractor, and you're going to take right, you go down there. Because you know how many John Deere tractors there are this was in Indiana.
I have no doubt about that.
How many John Deere tractors are in Indiana? He said, it didn't work at all. I said, I think I can help you. So what he did is he showed me a picture of his tractor, and we looked up the design, all the specs on it and everything. So now what he tells people is, so what you do is you go down highway so-and-so, you get on state road so you go down 11 roads, and you're going to see this John Deere tractor. And there's this guy standing on it, or sitting on it, and he's waving with one hand and pointing where you need to turn.
Another tube dude. There you go.
And people go, how do you know he's going to be there? Oh, he's always there.
Well, I love those stories. And there's a million of them.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, Scott, thanks for coming on.
You're very welcome. Thanks for having me.
Check out the Tube Dude. It's so interesting, and you've got a good social media presence now. You're on Instagram, so check it out. We'll share everything also.
Our Instagram probably has more really cool stuff. It's Tube Dude World, And because a lot of stuff that we have on our website is stuff that we those are our most popular pieces. But we have some really like out there stuff like, no, I never want to build this again, but it was fun while we did it. Those are on the Instagram page.
Oh, good,
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
The final segment is brought to you by the law offices of Eric Fleming, specializing in real estate closings. Mr. Fleming is also the current president of the Siesta Key Chamber of Commerce. And by Gilligan's Island Bar and Grill. Experience the heartbeat of the Siesta Village's dining and social scene.
Welcome back. I am here with Raul Jimenez and Jay Santi. And Raul, you started the Facebook page, Siesta Key Music Scene. And that's got such a great following. It tells everybody about what's going on Siesta Key on the music scene. And Jay, you've come on the scene now. You're one of the most popular people like to come see on the island.
That's lovely.
Oh, I hear things. I do. So, Raul, how did you get that started?
Actually, right here next door at the Crescent Club. I had a friend of mine hanging out, told me about the whole band on Friday nights. I kept telling him, I don't want to drive into the village and stuff like that. Finally, he convinced me to go in. I went in there on a Friday night, watched the whole band. Zach Yoder was playing with them, and I was just blown away. And I started hanging out there on Fridays. And then I heard about Zach playing at Gilligan's on Saturday afternoons. And I work 12 hours a day doing graphic design. So on the weekends, this is like my sanctuary. And I used to sit at the bar at Gilligan's and watch Zach and Al Donati. They had a huge following.
Right,
Everybody
yeah.
really got into it over there. And I had a favorite spot at the end of the bar. And I used to just sit there, enjoy the weather and listen to them. And I thought, does anybody have Siesta Key Music Scene Facebook page? And right there on my phone, I looked it up and nobody had it. I punched it in, took it. At first, I really didn't do a lot with it. Then, like a year later, I started shooting videos of these guys. And slowly but surely, I started getting traction and getting people's attention. It's a labor of love. It's just, I love live music.
Yeah. Well, Siesta Key we're known for our live music.
Absolutely.
Pretty much most of the bars have live music. For the most part, Gilligan's, a major one.
Absolutely. Blase.
Here at Captain Kurt's, they've
Captain
got
Kurt's.
music, a couple different places. I mean, this is such a big property here.
Scob.
Yeah.
When
Beach
I was
Club
really
on off.
sold on the whole thing is when I heard Mike Koch play with R.J. Housen. And Mike Koch played with Dickie Betts, toured nationally.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was in New York on Long Island, I used to go to concerts and stuff like that. I saw the Allman Brothers at the Beacon Theater, all kinds of stuff. And I paid a lot of money to see these guys.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here watching a world-class keyboard player who played with Dickie Betts play at Gilligan's.
Oh, it's amazing how many people around here have some sort of history like that.
Mm-hmm.
So where did you come from?
I came from New York as well. I'm one of those people that, I got lucky. Everybody was really nice to me, but I'm one of those New Yorkers that came down at the beginning of the pandemic. My family's had a house here for about 20 years, and honestly, of all the times that I had come here to visit, over that 20 years of having this house and not living here full time, I would come to Siesta Key, but I would go to the beach. I would go up to the village, usually during the day, and not really even take note. I didn't take quite as much notice of the musicianship,
lifestyle
and,
and-
the lifestyle
yeah.
and definitely the music scene. And once I moved here, I was like kind of blown away. I kind of thought I was going to come down here, especially in that time when everything was really confusing,
Right.
and not be able to continue performing music. I wasn't doing it full time in New York. I was doing it.
Oh.
It's hard to do anything full time in New York. I was also running nightclubs, but I was around music all the time. I ran a huge concert venue for many years, and a lot of, no offense, Raul, but I got paid to watch a lot of those shows that you guys. But I also had to run around and deal with all the bartenders and all the people complaining at the door and the cashiers and
Right,
the ticket
yeah.
booth and everything. You know.
Yeah, running a nightclub is
Security.
not all it's cracked up to be. Everybody's always like, "Oh, I want to own a bar." Then talk to
lot.
somebody that's owned one.
A
Yeah.
lot of work. Have a good lawyer. But yeah, I came down, and then I was very fortunate to quickly realize that the caliber of musicianship here is high above a lot of what I've seen elsewhere.
Yeah.
So it kind of put me to like, all right, if I want to do it, you have to. It was a challenge, and I have been working very hard to be here. And
Well, I love the music scene here.
too.
You can find live music on Siesta Key pretty much all day, from about 11 o'clock. 11 a.m. on some places.
Oh, yeah.
The music starts.
Yep.
And so do you have a favorite place to play?
a favorite place to play.
Or you just like them all for different reasons?
Yeah,
That's a
there
loaded
are
question.
very different reasons. Very different reasons for why I like playing in different venues. When it comes to Siesta Key, I mean, I love playing right here at Captain Kurt's. We're not regulars here, but we play regularly at Gilligan's. That backyard, playing in that backyard is beautiful.
Oh, it's phenomenal, yeah.
magnificent. It's like being in another world, you know?
Yeah.
It's really cool. It's really enjoyable. People are always just super chill and having a good time. Playing at Blase Cafe is an absolute blast.
Right, and they've got they put the new porch in.
Yeah,
That
they
deck was
expanded
a
that deck.
game changer.
Oh, it was, yeah.
It can get a little more rowdy over there too, for whatever reason. I don't know. Maybe they pour stiffer drinks. I'm not sure. But for some reason, there's like
Yeah,
an energetic bowl
you're right.
over there.
Drinks always seem to up the notch on anything.
Yeah.
And
I think it's the backstage where the crowd gets to hang out behind you.
That makes sense. Yeah. See, I don't get to see those things as frequently. I'm working.
Right, you're working. Yes. Not a bad gig, though. I mean,
Not a bad gig at all.
no.
Played there on Monday night for St. Patrick's Day, and we had an absolute blast. It was great.
Yeah, St. Patrick's out here on Siesta Key is kind of crazy.
It was good.
So, what are you going to play for us today?
So I'm a songwriter more than anything else. A lot of what I think Raul is trying to do, and correct me if I'm incorrect, is try and put forth the original music scene and pull out the fact that there's a lot of artistry here too. It's not just cover bands. It's not just
Right.
people coming up and playing all the hits from the 60s, 70s, 80s, top 40 bands.
Right.
And that's not really what Siesta Key's about. I mean, you go out and you hear a lot of like pretty deep cuts from great classic rock bands, or, you know, and that's great.
Well, it's great to have a mix.
Exactly.
If all you hear are the same 20 songs over and over again, yeah,
It gets to
It
be a bit
gets-
much.
it
Yeah,
gets
especially
redundant, yeah.
especially if this band is playing the same as that band.
and especially for locals.
right.
As somebody that comes down as a tourist, it's okay to go through that and hear it. But for the locals, I think that's more of they want to see some originals, and
Yeah.
hear some originals.
As a fan of the music, what I like about it is the brotherhood out here and the way these guys can all step into different bands when somebody's sick or whatever. And they
I
can just-
have seen
they
that.
can
Yeah.
just play whatever they're asked
And
to
that's a
play.
great culture. I grew up in a music scene. My parents were musicians. My dad had a country band in the 80s, so you can imagine what that was like. I grew up with my dad signing autographs, and we had to sing and dance. That's a whole other story, but I grew up around that, and they were not all nice to each other. It was, some of that was cutthroat, but 80s country music was serious. So then I get here and I see that, and everybody's like sitting in with each other, and it's like, hey, come up and join in. So that was foreign to me. And I was excited to see that, especially with some of the people that are sitting in the audience and the resumes they have in music. It's crazy.
You never know who's going to step into a band here. I saw Chris Anderson from the Outlaws Dirty Bird was playing at Blase, and he just showed up and started playing. You just never know who's going to step in.
Yeah, it's great. I'm hoping to see that scene pick up again. The local scene I think it's come back quite well after the hurricanes. Blase last Friday night was packed.
This guy right here right after the hurricane was playing. No, hardly anybody was out there but locals. But it lifted everybody's spirits.
It was great.
It
Yeah,
did.
was-
Actually, I saw you playing, and
there?
yes, and it did lift everybody's spirits. That was one of the first semblances of normalcy that I saw after the hurricanes. Was the music coming back? Everything we could do to make it feel like
Yeah.
normal again helped and
Yeah.
made a big difference. And now it's coming back very, very strong.
Yeah, I was actually really honored to get that phone call. You know, I was happy to be there. It was nice.
Well, thank you.
Everybody was happy to be there.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
That's true.
We thought it was going to be months before anybody was out there.
I know.
No, I think the businesses here did a great job of just turning it around
Sure
and
did.
getting back
Siesta
open.
strong.
We are definitely siesta strong, and the businesses on this key came back so fast, and we didn't have to sit out for long, really.
Yeah.
All right, so let's hear. What's the name of the song?
So I'm gonna play an original. Well, you have to. For one thing, do I have any restrictions on what I can say?
Nope.
Okay, great.
You're good.
And
Nope.
two, all right, that means that I will play. I'm gonna play a song called "Sex in My Whiskey," which is a song I wrote almost 20 years ago now, when I first wrote it at least, and it's in memory of Stevie Ray Vaughan. So
Oh, great.
yeah.
My favorite artist.
Well, I found myself on the bathroom floor, thinking about what else could be left in store. As a man, I walked on through the door before I could say, she slipped some sex in my whiskey last night. Oh yeah,
I like it.
it's not my fault. And I wasn't feeling all that bad. As a matter of fact, I felt good. Now he was getting really mad. I think that things was just misunderstood. She slipped some sex in my whiskey last night. Oh yeah. Some sex in my whiskey last night. Oh yeah. Now you know every girl just wants to live. Oh yeah. And you know every man just needs to give. Oh yeah. Said I can love you like you never knew. You know I'll hold you like he never do. I wanna love you like he never knew. I wanna love you like he never do. She slipped some sex in my whiskey last night. Oh yeah. Some sex in my whiskey last night. Oh yeah.
I love that.
It's an abbreviated version. I know.
Oh, and I
I
definitely.
may have gone over time. I apologize.
Oh, you're good.
Hey,
you're
Santi,
good.
folks.
That was. I really heard the Stevie Ray Vaughan in that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I love that song. Well, do you ever go to like fraternity parties or anything? That really made me think about Indiana University circa like 1995 and some of the bands that were circling through and the songs they wrote. That would be a killer one.
I hope I get there. I mean, I wrote that song in grad school. I wrote that song, so that makes sense.
Hear those originals.
Right, that'll be playing in the back of my head all day long.
Good news.
So
It's
where does
coming out.
somebody find you?
Yeah, it's coming out. We just put together Jay Santi and the Vital Groove. Me and my dear friend Chris Sussman, who's up in Gulfport, he's come together and partnered with me, and then he's my bass player. And my
Okay.
drummer, Marcus James, who plays around the circuit as well here on Siesta Key in Sarasota. And we went to Bay Sound Studio in Sarasota and we recorded an album. So
great.
That's on it. We're really looking forward to putting it out. Bud Snyder helped us produce it and get it all together. And he's an Allman Brothers, an old Allman Brothers guy who worked with Greg and has a Grammy with Greg Allman for.
Well, let us know when it comes out. Tag us in it.
You got it.
Yeah, Siesta Sand Live. We're getting out there. And Raul, with the Siesta Key music scene, Facebook, do you update it regularly? People can go there and see kind of what's on the key, what music's being, or who's playing where?
I basically get up every morning and I try to repost all these guys' gigs if they don't post directly. Mm-hmm. I post screenshots of all the gigs that are going on.
Great.
And I shoot my own videos. I go to whatever gig I'm hanging out at. I shoot video. I go home and edit them and put them up and promote these guys as much as I can because this is how I pay them back for all the great music.
Well, I like the fact that it's a go-to spot because the music scene here is such a big deal. And people are always asking me about it and who's playing where, and now they can go. What is your Instagram and your Facebook?
So you can find me by looking up J Santi Music anywhere.
Okay.
If you go to jsantimusic.com, just JSANTI music.com, that can link you to Instagram.
To everything.
Yeah,
Okay.
all the other stuff, Facebook. But if you go on Facebook or Instagram, it's all just J Santi Music.
Okay.
Yeah, I try to make it consistent.
And we'll be able to download Sex in My Week.
Yeah, absolutely. I do have other albums up already under J Santi on Spotify and iTunes and all that. But this is definitely going to be the best one yet.
Oh, good,
Really
good.
Got a lot of old school funk and blues and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've got an interesting sound. I like it. It's a mix of a lot.
That's my dad made me. What didn't make me? My dad listened to tons of music that I was exposed to growing up. Really an eclectic taste in music. So I feel grateful for that. And as a side note, before we finish, I have to say thank you to Raul. Because what you do for the Siesta Key music scene, I've thanked you a couple times, but maybe a drink or a shot and stuff here. But more appropriately,
After here.
What you do is really something that like you said it best. It's a labor of love, but it's not every day that you go to any scene and there's somebody who's not in the scene or not performing in the scene that's really doing the legwork and the stuff that you're doing. That's super helpful. So, thank you.
Thank you.
All I could say is
you guys are the music scene.
Well, thank you both. I appreciate it. Come out, everybody. Come out to the Key, CJ Play. Check out Siesta Key music scene. Raul's going to keep us all updated. And don't forget to check out Siesta Sand Live.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Natalie.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Siesta strong.
That's right. Thank you for checking out another great episode of Siesta Sand Live. I really want to thank Scott, the Tube Dude, for coming on. Check out his work. You're going to be surprised at how creative a shipbuilder can be. I was. I love that story. And I also want to thank Raul and Jay for coming out. I absolutely love that song. So I'm going to make sure I check him out at Gilligan's, Blase. They're all over the place. Come out and see the Siesta Key music scene. We've always been known for music, and now is no different. So come out. Captain Kurtz always has live music here. And don't forget to check us out, Siesta Sand Live. We're on YouTube, we're on Spotify, we're on Apple, Siesta Key Natalie on Facebook or on Instagram. So stay sunny, Siesta, and I will see you next week.
Siesta Sand Live is broadcast from Captain Kurt's Village. It's Siesta Key's home to great food, great drinks, great music, and great times. Look for the giant American flag.